Sometimes, Allah does not test you to see if you will stay. He tests you to see how you stay. When marriage is written, the heart is not carried gently into certainty. It is placed under weight. Ease is replaced with restraint. Excitement is replaced with patience. And suddenly, the heart is forced to slow down and face itself. Many people assume that if something is meant for them, it should feel simple. But Allah does not prepare lifelong bonds with temporary emotions. This phase feels confusing because it strips away illusions. You are no longer running on attraction or hope alone. You are standing in uncertainty, and that is where truth is revealed. Allah allows moments that test your discipline, your trust, and your ability to surrender control, not because He wants to hurt you, but because He wants to protect what He may soon place in your hands. If this journey has made you quieter, more reflective, and more aware of Allah than before, then something important is happening. Weak attachments are allowed to fade quickly. Serious destinies are examined slowly. What feels heavy now is shaping your heart to carry responsibility, not just romance. This is not the beginning of loss. This is the beginning of preparation. Allah tests discipline before He allows commitment. Before Nikah makes love lawful, Allah carefully observes how a heart behaves when it has no official right and no guarantee. This is the stage where many hearts collapse, not because they are evil, but because they are untrained. When emotions are strong and the future feels uncertain, Allah watches whether a person still carries dignity or begins to chase, pressure, or cross limits. It is easy to behave well when something is confirmed. The real test appears when nothing is promised, and patience is the only proof of sincerity. In this stage, restraint becomes more valuable than expression. Allah is not impressed by how deeply you feel, but by how well you control yourself despite those feelings. When attraction pushes you forward, do you slow yourself down? When desire demands closeness, do you respect distance? Discipline here is not suppression of love, it is protection of it. A heart that knows how to pause will know how to protect a marriage later. Marriage is often misunderstood as freedom, but in reality, it is structured responsibility. Allah tests discipline early because once nikah happens, freedom increases. And whatever lacks control before commitment becomes dangerous after it. If a heart cannot respect boundaries when it has no right, it will struggle to respect responsibilities when it gains that right. This is why Allah allows pressure before permission. He is teaching the heart how to carry trust before placing it in its hands. This test quietly separates desire from readiness. Desire only asks for closeness and reassurance. Readiness accepts limits, waits without demanding, and protects what it wants by not rushing toward it. When a heart chooses dignity over impulse and patience over pressure, it shows Allah it is not chasing a feeling, but preparing for a responsibility. And Allah does not place serious commitments in undisciplined hearts. Pressure exposes the difference between marriage and validation. When Allah applies pressure to the heart, He is not trying to confuse it. He is trying to expose it. Many people say they want marriage, but under pressure, their real need begins to speak. Marriage is about building a life, but validation is about calming insecurity. Pressure reveals which one the heart is truly chasing. When ease is removed and certainty is delayed, the heart either becomes patient or becomes desperate. That reaction is the truth. Validation needs constant reassurance. It needs messages, attention, and emotional confirmation to feel safe. Under pressure, a heart-seeking validation starts to panic. It overthinks silence, fears distance, and feels unsettled without constant proof. Allah allows this pressure to surface because marriage cannot survive on reassurance alone. A spouse cannot be responsible for fixing insecurities that the heart refuses to heal with Allah. If a person needs another human to feel worthy, marriage will become a place of emotional burden instead of partnership. A heart truly prepared for marriage responds to pressure differently. It may feel the weight, but it does not lose balance. It does not beg for certainty or demand timelines. It understands that real commitment grows through patience, not pressure. This heart knows that marriage is not an escape from loneliness, but a shared journey between two stable individuals. Allah strengthens this type of heart before allowing it to move forward. Pressure also reveals how a person handles uncertainty. Someone seeking validation wants immediate answers because uncertainty feels like rejection. Someone seeking marriage can tolerate waiting because their identity is not tied to another person's response. Allah delays clarity to see whether the heart collapses without approval or remains steady through trust. This is not cruelty. This is protection. Allah does not allow marriage to begin as emotional dependency. He pauses the path until the heart no longer needs a person to feel secure, valued, or complete. When validation is removed and the heart still chooses patience, respect, and trust in Allah, it proves it is ready for responsibility, not just attention. Delay is used to destroy fantasy before covenant. When Allah delays something the heart wants, it is rarely to deny it. More often, it is to correct the way the heart sees it. Fantasy grows quickly when things move fast. The mind fills in gaps with perfection, and the heart falls in love with an image more than a reality. Allah knows that fantasy cannot survive responsibility, so He slows the process before it becomes binding. Delay is how He protects both hearts from building a future on imagination. In waiting, the shine begins to fade, and that is intentional. When time stretches, you are forced to see what excitement once covered. You notice habits, limits, differences, and weaknesses. You also begin to see your own expectations more clearly. What once felt magical now feels ordinary, and that is not a loss. That is alignment. Marriage is not built on constant excitement. It is built on truth that remains even when emotions settle. Allah uses delay to separate what is imagined from what is real. Fantasy only survives in distance and mystery. Reality appears when time removes urgency. If a connection can survive waiting without being fueled by constant emotion, then it is rooted in something stronger than attraction. If it collapses once fantasy fades, Allah has saved you from a covenant that would have broken under real life. Delay also gives the heart time to mature. Many people fall in love before they understand what they are committing to. Allah allows time to teach patience, emotional balance, and realistic expectation. He does not want two hearts entering marriage carrying illusions that will later turn into disappointment. By the time Allah allows progress, the heart is no longer chasing perfection. It is ready to accept a human being. When fantasy dies before covenant, peace increases after commitment. Allah removes illusion early, so marriage does not have to fight it later. Delay is not a barrier. It is preparation. Emotional pain reveals where the heart has leaned too much. Emotional pain during this test is not meaningless. and it is not sent to break the heart. It is sent to show the heart the truth about itself. When Allah allows discomfort, anxiety, or fear to rise, He is revealing where the heart has placed too much weight. Pain appears when something created is carrying a role that only Allah should carry. This is why the ache feels deep and personal. It is exposing dependence. When the heart leans too heavily on another person, it begins to fear loss more than it trusts Allah. Small changes feel like threats. Silence feels unbearable. Uncertainty feels like danger. Allah allows this pain to surface because marriage cannot be built on fear of losing someone. Love that is rooted in fear becomes controlling, anxious, and exhausting. Allah corrects this before commitment, so the relationship does not become a source of constant emotional struggle later. This pain also reveals emotional imbalance. Some hearts give more than they can afford and expect security in return. Others attach their peace to someone else's presence or response. When that presence shifts, the heart shakes. Allah shows this weakness early, not to shame the heart, but to heal it. He wants the heart to learn how to stand on its own with Him before standing beside another human being. After Nikah, emotional patterns do not disappear, they grow stronger. Insecurity becomes suspicion. Attachment becomes control. Neediness becomes resentment. Allah exposes these roots before marriage so they can be addressed with awareness and humility. Pain is the warning light, not the crash. When the heart learns to shift its reliance back to Allah, the pain begins to soften. Trust replaces fear. Stability replaces anxiety. This is not loss. This is correction. Allah does not remove love when He allows pain. He removes imbalance so love can exist without destroying the heart. Silence tests. Tawakkul, not love. Silence is one of the most misunderstood parts of this test. Many people think silence means loss, rejection, or fading love. But in reality, silence is a mirror. When words, reassurance, and explanations are removed, Allah observes what remains inside the heart. This moment is not testing how much you love someone. It is testing how much you trust Allah when control is taken away. When silence appears, the heart reacts in one of two ways. It either becomes restless, fills the gaps with assumptions, and searches desperately for clarity, or it slows down and turns inward. A heart that depends on constant communication for peace will struggle deeply in silence. Not because the connection is wrong, but because the heart has learned to rely on people instead of Allah for stability. Allah uses silence to break this habit gently but firmly. Silence also reveals emotional maturity. Love does not require constant presence to survive. Dependence does. A heart grounded in Tawakkul understands that what is written cannot be lost through quiet moments. It does not rush to conclusions or demand explanations before their time. It waits with dignity, trusting that Allah sees what the heart cannot yet understand. In marriage, silence will exist. There will be moments of distance, misunderstanding, and quiet reflection. If the heart collapses now, it will struggle later. Allah teaches steadiness early, so the heart learns how to remain balanced even when answers are delayed. This lesson protects future peace. When the heart learns to sit calmly in silence without panic, something changes. Anxiety weakens. Trust grows stronger. The need to control fades. Silence stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like space for Allah. This is not the loss of love. This is the strengthening of Tawakkul. and Allah never builds a lasting relationship without it. Allah tests self-control before He tests compatibility. Before Allah examines how two people fit together, He examines how each person handles themselves. This is why self-control is tested long before compatibility is confirmed. Many people focus on whether they are understood, chosen, or valued. But Allah first looks at how they react when they are challenged. A heart that cannot manage its own emotions will struggle to share life with another heart. Under pressure, hidden traits rise to the surface. Jealousy appears when attention feels uncertain. Impatience shows when progress feels slow. Pride surfaces when expectations are not met. Insecurity grows when control is lost. Allah allows these emotions to come forward not to destroy the connection, but to reveal what still needs refinement. Marriage magnifies behavior. What is small now becomes heavy later. Self-control is not about never feeling emotions. It is about knowing how to respond to them. When anger rises, do you pause or react? When fear appears, do you trust or accuse? When disappointment comes, do you reflect or explode? Allah tests these moments early because marriage is not sustained by attraction. It is sustained by regulation. Two compatible people can still destroy a marriage if they lack self-control. Allah also tests how a person treats boundaries when emotions are strong. Someone who cannot restrain words, assumptions, or reactions before Nikah will struggle even more after. Freedom without discipline turns into harm. This is why Allah focuses on internal readiness before external union. He refines the individual before joining the pair. This test quietly shifts the focus from, "Are we right for each other?" to, "Am I ready to be safe for someone else?" When self-control improves, communication becomes healthier, trust becomes stronger, and compatibility has room to grow. Allah does not rush compatibility. He builds character first, because character is what carries a marriage through real life. Surrender proves readiness more than effort. There comes a point in this journey where effort stops opening doors and only surrender does. Many hearts believe that if they care more, try harder, or push further, things will move forward. But when marriage is written, Allah does not respond to pressure. He responds to trust. This is where the test deepens, not because effort is wrong, but because effort without surrender turns into control. Surrender does not mean giving up or becoming careless. It means releasing the obsession with outcome while keeping intention pure. The heart still hopes, still makes dua, still acts with respect, but it no longer tries to force timing or demand certainty. Allah watches closely at this stage. Does the heart tighten its grip when things feel slow, or does it loosen its hold and place trust back where it belongs? Effort driven by fear creates anxiety. Surrender rooted in faith creates calm. Allah delays written things when the heart is trying to manage what only He controls. When the heart finally steps back and says, "I have done my part, now I trust you," something shifts internally. Peace replaces urgency. Clarity replaces obsession. This inner shift is a sign of readiness. Marriage cannot survive on effort alone. There will be moments where effort is misunderstood, unreturned, or unseen. Without surrender, these moments turn into resentment. Allah teaches surrender before marriage, so the heart learns how to remain soft even when things are not in its control. When surrender is sincere, Allah opens paths that effort could not. Doors move without force. Timing aligns without pressure. The heart no longer chases the future. It walks toward it with trust. This is why surrender proves readiness more than effort. It shows Allah that the heart is prepared to carry responsibility without trying to replace His control. Peace is given before Allah opens the door. Before Allah opens any serious door, He settles the heart first. This is a pattern many people miss. They think peace comes after answers, after certainty, after union. But Allah gives peace before the outcome, not after it. When marriage is written, the heart doesn't remain in constant anxiety. The noise inside begins to quiet, even if the situation outside is still unfolding. This peace does not mean the heart stops caring. It means it stops fighting what it cannot control. The constant overthinking slows down. The urge to chase reassurance fades. The need to constantly analyze every sign disappears. The heart becomes steady, not because everything is clear, but because trust has replaced fear. This calm is one of the strongest signs that the test has done its work. Allah does this to protect the future. A marriage that begins in desperation carries tension into its foundation. A heart that enters marriage needing constant certainty will struggle when real life introduces uncertainty. Allah prepares the heart by teaching it how to be calm without guarantees. This calm becomes the ground on which love can grow without pressure. Peace also brings acceptance. Whether the door opens immediately or later, the heart feels safe with Allah's decision. It understands that what is written cannot miss it, and what is not written cannot harm it by leaving. This understanding removes bitterness and replaces it with quiet confidence. When peace arrives, it is not the end of the journey, but it is confirmation. Allah does not leave written destinies in chaos. He aligns the heart before He aligns the path. And when the heart is settled, whatever Allah brings through that door will be received with gratitude instead of fear. When Allah tests the heart this deeply, it is never without purpose. He does not examine what He intends to discard. He prepares what He intends to keep. Every delay, every moment of silence, every wave of pressure was shaping the heart into something stronger, steadier, and more capable of carrying a lifelong trust. What feels heavy now is not a sign of loss, but a sign of seriousness. If this path has taught you patience, strengthened your reliance on Allah, softened your ego, and brought peace where anxiety once lived, then something meaningful has already been written for you. Whether Allah joins two lives soon or reshapes the journey entirely, the heart that emerges from this test is not the same heart that entered it. It is wiser, calmer, and closer to Him. Trust this process. Allah never prepares a heart for nothing. And when He opens the door, you will understand why it had to be tested first.